Welcome to the Beyond the Mat podcast, an in-depth talk show discussing exclusively WWE topics.
My name's Rick Boogs, and I came to rock with the Beyond the Mats podcast that is beyond the M-A-T-T podcast. Ah!
All right, everybody, welcome to Beyond the Mat. It is July 30th, 2022. We're going to be looking at WWE Summerslam from tonight. You can follow me on Twitter at BeyondMatWWE. And if you'd like to get rid of the ads, subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/BeyondTheMat. That's Matt with 2 T's, not just one. Joined tonight by my guest, Brad. How you doing, Brad?
Oh, what a night. What a night.
What'd you think of the SummerSlam show overall?
Man, I mean, look, it's hard to talk about it without saying about the main event. I don't know, what the popular consensus is out there about this because we just finished watching. But I think that was one of the most incredible matches you'll ever see for a main event. And I thought the rest of it was good. It was definitely an enjoyable watch. What did you think?
I thought the main event was good. It was hard hitting, like probably expected it to be. I've seen Lesnar and Reigns have matches like that before. They had the nice visual of the tractor lifting up the ring and Lesnar starting it off by jumping off the top of the tractor bucket there right into the Dez press and beating out the hell out of Roman Reigns. I thought it was good. I knew that there'd be some kind of involvement with Theory, and it played out kind of how I expected it to. They basically prevented him from cashing in. And, the rest of the show I thought was okay. I thought the opening match was probably the best match other than the main event. And then there was some other stuff on the show that I thought that was, probably not booked the way that I think is most suitable or most favorable to the people in the match, especially the Ronda and Liv match. I didn't feel like the finish to that was very helpful to Liv at all. Ronda basically dominated her the whole match. She tapped out anyway. Commentary put over the fact that she tapped out, and she's still champion, and that's fine. And I know I understand what they're trying to do, but they could have done it in a way that protected Liv more and protected Rousey more. And, some of the other things, the Usos and Street Profits, I felt like under-delivered. Maybe I had high hopes for that match, but after what they did at Money in the Bank, I had every reason to have high hopes for that match. And I just felt like it was a little rushed, a little bit heavy on the high spots. The finish, the sequence leading up to the finish didn't make sense at all to me. And then coming out of that, I don't understand who the hell the Usos are going to be challenging moving forward. Now, the big other news of the night, other than Roman Reigns retaining, we also had Edge return to help out the Mysterios in their match with the Judgment Day. We had Bayley return to confront Bianca, and they also brought out Dakota Kai and Io Sky was what they were calling her, Io Sky instead of Io Shirai. And they confronted Bianca. Becky gave Bianca a handshake after the match, and then Becky came into the ring to defend Bianca. So we effectively got, what appears to be a babyface turn by Becky Lynch and a return of Bayley. I don't know if those other two ladies are going to be doing much on the main roster or not. That remains to be seen. If they do, I think that's great. And it'd be even better if they're sort of, the henchwoman for Bayley, because then they can have those women working in some matches, and Bayley can have her main feud maybe with Bianca Belair, and then those ladies can be working against Bianca and her allies in matches, leading up to a pay-per-view or something like that. But I feel like they did all that and presented all that way, mostly to cement the fact that Bayley was returning as a heel and that Becky was trying to turn babyface there, because you saw Bayley come out and get cheered, right?
Of course.
Yeah, the place came unglued for her, so they had to bring out some other people and have them make it look like they were putting Bianca up against the odds, which then effectively makes Bayley a heel in this situation. And then when Becky is by Bianca's side, it effectively has her on the babyface side. And I'm happy to see Becky. I even said this to you earlier when we were talking, that I'm happier to see Becky Lynch in a babyface role, if that's where they're going with this, than if she would have won the title. As much as I wanted her to win instead of Bianca. But so what were your thoughts on stuff other than the main event?
I mean, there's a lot to unpack. A lot of my thoughts usually involve not just the matches, but some of the external things. Like I found the runway to be incredibly long. I know we've seen long runways before, but it was long, and it had like a little hook in it, and there was really no Tron, which was interesting. I mean, there was, but it was kind of like, it just looked so tiny. And I do think an open air stadium takes away a lot of the oomph and intensity that you get from the crowd. It's just almost impossible to feel that energy and that excitement in the crowd coming through your television when you're watching a show from an open air stadium versus an arena. I think that's just a fact in the way it is. So, those are just some things that I wanted to point out initially right off the bat before we start talking about the actual matches themselves.
Yeah, with the outdoor stadiums, like, it'd be nice if they had they set up more crowd mics so you could hear the crowd more. And it doesn't seem like they make an effort to do that. And then, they were careful with their shots of the stadium, but you could tell once earlier in the night, they did a wide angle shot from the entrance area, and you could see that they basically had the entire hard cam side empty. So they had everybody on the one half of the football stadium. And if they're going to do it that way, rather than sort of move the entranceway up and have people on both sides, then that makes it a really long way from the entrance to the ring. And so that's why we ended up with a really long entranceway when you got nobody on the hard cam side and everybody's packed into the opposite side. They have to use that whole side. And so, I thought the entranceway was long too. Took forever for Brock Lesnar to get down there in a freaking tractor. But
oh yeah, but not just Brock. I mean, at the very beginning, obviously you first noticed it with Becky. She was the first person coming in, and it just felt like it took her a really long time to do that walk. I mean, everyone, they were stopping the entrances. The entrance music for some people, like before they even got to the ring, because that's how long of a walk it was. So just an interesting thing to me. I'm not the biggest fan of the open air stadium. I like the arena feel a lot better personally, the way they did the Royal Rumble or Money in the Bank, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I like the arenas better too. I just wish, it's because it's weird watching wrestling and then you can see the sun shining and stuff like that. It's just weird. When it got darker out, it felt more like a wrestling show.
Yep.
But I did think that the opening match was good. Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. you know.
Started very slow. It started very slow. Very underwhelming, maybe the first 3 to 4 minutes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that Becky was a more experienced performer in this match, and that she was running this match basically. You know, Belair, I feel like sometimes her footwork or her placement in the ring is a little bit off, as athletic and as impressive as she can be. But you know, they worked this pretty good. Belair took out Lynch early with the shoulder tackle. Then they were running the ropes. Lynch took her down and was going after the arm. So Becky was working over Bianca's arm a lot in this match. Put her in a couple situations where she had the disarmor locked in. You know, she went for a Beck exploder at one point after they got back in the ring. Went for another one. Bianca fought out of it, but then went for a suplex. Becky hit an inside cradle on it to reverse it. Becky took her down again from the corner, rolled into an arm bar, but then went into a pinning combination. Becky nailed a drop kick from the top rope on Bianca, but then tried to go for that leg drop when Bianca was hanging over the ropes, and Bianca reversed that and just slammed the hell out of her. There was one point where Bianca went for a glam slam and just botched the hell out of it and just basically threw Becky on the floor, but then she did a standing moonsault. She also did a glam slam onto the apron and then got back in the ring, did her handspring cartwheel crap that she does when she bounces off the rope. The finish, though, saw Becky looking for the manhandle slam off the second rope, and Bianca reversed that into a really nice looking Spanish fly, and then she picked her right up for the KOD and pinned her 1, 2, 3. After the match, Becky went to Bianca to shake her hand. Bianca hesitated for a minute, and then they shook hands. Becky then got out of the ring. Bayley's music hit. Bayley starts to come down. She stands, about 15 feet from the ring. Dakota Kai music plays. She comes out, and then Io Shirai's music plays, and she comes out. The whole time Bayley's basically talking crap to Bianca Belair. Now, Bayley was a big ally of Bianca Belair before, so they needed to, if they were going to bring her back in a position to feud with her, they needed to establish her as a heel. She was getting cheered like crazy when she entered. People were really happy to see her. And so they bring in 2 other women. They confront Bianca. They put in, she's talking shit to Bianca the whole time. And so it makes it look like Bianca's at odds with Bayley here. And then Becky steps up to defend Bianca. Looks like Becky turns babyface here, and Bayley returns as a heel. I don't know what they're going to do with these other 2 ladies, but like I was saying earlier, it'd be nice to see them on the main roster doing something, especially since there's no titles on the shows. They could do a lot more with the women. So, but back when before Bayley was hurt for a while.
Belaca, you stupid idiot! Her name is Bianca Belair.
She was a big fan of Bianca Belair, so they had to do something here to show that they weren't allies and to really show that Bayley was returning as a heel. So I thought that they did that well. I thought that they did what they could to sort of show whatever they were trying to show with Becky. I thought that this match, it was a little bit choppy in spots and it was a little bit slow in spots, but it was still a well-worked match. Becky worked it really well. You could tell she was leading it, and I liked the post-match stuff too.
Yeah, I did too. I liked Io Shirai and Dakota. I mean, if you told me 2 people were coming up from NXT today to SummerSlam, probably the last two people that I would ever tell you would be Dakota Kai and Io Shirai. And yet they did call her Io Sky, but I did also hear them say Io Shirai a couple times. And I did see on the screen it said Io Shirai. So I don't know if they are changing her name. I know they have called her Io Sky Shirai in the past. So who the hell knows if she's going to keep her old name or a new name. But I will tell you, those would be the last two people that I would ever expect to be featured on SummerSlam tonight. I don't know how, if you told me it was Carmelo Hayes or, Grayson Waller or something, I would believe you. But them, no, I wouldn't even believe you. I would say the odds are 1,000,000 to 1.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out, and what we hear about really what's going on with them. Or, we'll see on Monday night what happens if they're on with Bayley or whatever the hell is going on. I don't know if they were there just for the purpose of putting Bianca against the odds and backing up Bayley to put her, in a heel position, or if they're there to, to stay and to be on the Raw roster. I don't know. But it was definitely good to see two more. That it was great to see Bayley return. I wasn't expecting her to return to the Raw roster at all. And then it was also nice to see two more women added to that division that might be viable people to actually perform on television.
Yeah, absolutely. And two veterans from NXT. I mean, these are people that, were in NXT for years. So it's just interesting, man. Again, never thought it would be them. It's cool that it was. Interesting move. Look, Vince would have never had Dakota Kai coming out. That's for sure. That's a big change,
Yeah. Yeah, things like that I definitely don't think would have happened with Vince. I thought that who knows if Becky would have done what she did if it was Vince, but I think that they needed to do this with Becky. And they did a good job of it with her. She spent the last year putting Bianca over. She needs to go back to being a babyface. Who the hell cares about the title? And she can win the title back from whoever takes it off Bianca, So that's how I see things going long term anyway. So.
Yeah. I just thought it was, Bayley, I guess she wasn't wearing wrestling gear. She was wearing something kind of weird, like almost like pants with like a lot of pockets. I couldn't really tell what she was wearing, to be honest with you, but it just seemed like she was wearing something kind of strange. But it was good to see her back, and then we moved on to the next match, which was I believe Miz and Logan Paul segment, right?
Yeah, Miz and Logan Paul was up next. They did everything they could here to have Miz stay as the heel in this match and have Logan Paul look like the babyface. They had Ciampa interfere at one point. He got thrown out. Then as he got thrown out, AJ Styles came in, beat the hell out of him into the crowd. But Logan Paul hit a frog splash off the top rope through the announce table on the Miz. He also did an Asai moonsault off the apron, take out the Miz at one point. He did a phenomenal forearm right after Styles got involved, and then the finish saw him hit the skull-crushing finale on the Miz after Miz tried to take his Pokemon card necklace and hit him with it, but he missed, almost hit Maurice, who was up on the apron, and then Logan Paul hit him with the skull-crushing finale and finished the match off. What do you think of this one?
I got to tell you, I think personally, I thought it was the third best match on the card. And I thought that Logan Paul was so amazingly athletic. Like I was saying, and I really don't, it doesn't matter what anyone else's opinion. Like this is really what I saw with my own two eyes. Logan Paul looked like one of the top 2 or 3 most athletic people I've seen in a ring in the last year plus. Like he was up there, like doing Montez Ford level stuff. he did perfect, kind of backflip moves. He was really, really precise and good with his leaps, his timing. He looked incredibly strong, incredibly physical. I just thought he looked unbelievable. And you did notice by the end of the match, there was people standing up and cheering him in the front few rows across from the hard cam that were not at the beginning of the match because they appreciated his effort. I'm not saying I love the guy personally. I'm just saying he put in a hell of an effort.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job too. I still think that his mannerisms aren't really that of a babyface, and his just the way that he celebrated after the match didn't come off as babyface at all. And if he's trying to be presented as a babyface, he needs to act like one too. And
yeah, he acts like a tough guy.
Yeah, he acts like a dickhead, and like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I just did this and I'm so great. Like, that's not how a babyface usually acts after they win. And he had all his water bottles thrown to him afterwards so he could go to each corner and do all that stuff. But no, I thought the match was fine. I thought that they did well with what they were trying to do. It wasn't overstay its well. It didn't overstay its welcome. It wasn't too long of a match. I liked Ciampa getting involved and then getting thrown out. I liked Styles coming out there because it's like I said, they needed to have Miz out there with two other, same situation as in the first match. They wanted to make sure that Logan Paul was not going to get booed, or at least not to the extent that Miz was. And Miz had two other people out there with them messing around. And then on top of that, somebody interferes, gets thrown out, and then big babyface AJ Styles comes out to, help him out. So to help Logan Paul out. So that all that stuff to, have Logan Paul presented as a babyface, and that's fine. And I thought the match was nice and tight and, pretty well done. And it wasn't too long. So I didn't have any issues.
Yeah, I really loved how Logan Paul beat The Miz with his own move. I thought that was really terrific. And he not only used the skull-crushing finale, but he also used the phenomenal forearm. I thought it had some really good stuff in it, man. I really did like this match a lot more than some of the others. And thinking about it back, I think I liked it even more in reflecting on it than I did even when I was watching it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was better than I thought it would be, and thought it achieved what it needed to. Next up, we had Theory and Lashley for the U.S. title. Theory attacked Lashley before the bell with the briefcase. He beat the piss out of him with it. Lashley still wants to go. Early in the match, Theory hit a somersault into a really nice-looking blockbuster. Eventually, Lashley got in control with a shoulder tackle, a lariat, and then a big-ass spine buster. Theory actually tried to walk out of the match, took his briefcase, and started to get out of there, but got cut off by Lashley. Lashley hit a really nice-looking tilt-a-whirl, move into a running power slam, tried to hit a spear, but Theory dodges him. Eventually, Theory somersault, went for a blockbuster again, but Lashley caught him into a military press, put him down to the hurt lock, and Theory tapped out immediately like he did before, and that was that. Lashley retains, Theory gets out of there. So there really wasn't much to that match, and it played out the way that I think I thought it would.
Yeah, short and sweet. I really enjoyed this match too, man. I thought there was nothing wrong with it. It was short, and Theory is looking like a serious loser, man. He is losing every single match that he gets into.
Yep, and you can't even cash in. But they next up we had the Judgment Day and the Rey Mysterio match. Judgment Day coming out with Rhea Ripley here. They started out with blows, right off the bat. We got "We Want Tables" chants right away from the crowd. It's funny, man. Every single match that has any kind of no DQ or whatever, people have been chant "We Want Tables," and they've been doing that for like 25 years. It's like tables are the most popular freaking thing in WWE. Not any one wrestler, but the tables.
The tables have reached peak popularity.
Yeah. So Judgment Day worked over Dom a lot in this match. They eventually, Rey Mysterio hit a really nice looking, beautiful top rope Hurricane Rana, and Priest ended up breaking.
Finn Balor, yeah.
Yeah, Priest broke up the pin there. Eventually, Priest hits a South of Heaven on Mysterio. Balor calls for a chair for Rhea to get him a chair, but at that time, Edge's music plays. He comes up from steps with flames coming out of them like he used to come out for the Brood. He's got sunglasses on a lot like the ones he wore when he debuted. Comes in, nails Priest with a boot on his way down to the ring, spears Balor, then he spears Priest. He drop toe holds Balor onto the ropes. The Mysterio 619 him, and then Rey does a springboard crossbody splash into a pin, and the Mysterios win the match. Edge returns as a babyface. And what'd you think of this one?
Yeah, and you were right again. I actually was thinking of you during this match because you had said that Edge was going to return as kind of like a Batman character who comes to save people in need. And it made... Look, I don't want to say it made the Mysterios look weak that they needed his help because Finn Balor was about to get the chair and kill Rey Mysterio when Edge came out. But, it didn't make the Mysterios look strong to me that, Edge just speared everyone and basically got him in the position to win. It really wasn't about the Mysterios winning. Obviously, it was about Edge, and now we know why they did it, no disqualification, because Edge was going to come in the whole time. But it was... Man, I thought this was good too, bro. I thought this was good, and I liked seeing Edge come back. He looked very different, obviously aesthetically. He had a different haircut. He had kind of just a totally different look to him. But I got to say, I enjoyed this match, and I mean, looking back on it, I thought it was pretty damn good.
Yeah, I thought it was good too. I thought it over-delivered in a lot of ways. I thought it was actually better work than the tag title match we saw later. Just maybe based on my expectations. And I definitely think that Edge returning is, a really big positive coming out of this. I hope he doesn't hang around the Mysterios too much. Like, I hope this moves him into a program with Finn Balor, and then we see a match between the two of them, maybe a Clash at the Castle, and then, he eventually moves into maybe one last main event push. But, they had to do the no DQ so they could have Ripley get involved at one point because, she stopped them from hitting the double 619, and then they obviously needed it to get Edge in there too to equalize it. I don't know that it necessarily made the Mysterios look weak for that reason, because Judgment Day had Rhea Ripley there that could attack them, and neither of them are probably going to attack a woman. She beat the hell out of Dominic at one point, but then you had Rey Mysterio using the chair on Balor. So there was, you could go either way with it, but I think at the end of the day, I don't know that anybody views the Mysterios as a real powerful tag team force anyway. So if they're just there for entertainment purposes, they did the job. I am surprised that Judgment Day continues to lose like this, but
Yeah.
whatever. I'm not that invested in them anyway, and I don't think, a lot of people will be like, Judgment Day loses again. What a loser faction! That, like, who cares? I don't think it's that big of a deal. They'll get one back, I'm sure, or they'll just beat people up backstage. So.
Well, how do you think Rhea Ripley feels right now with she didn't get the championship shot against Bianca Belair? Now we have Bayley coming back. We have this whole stable after Bianca Belair. I mean, this is now, where does Rhea Ripley even fit into the women's title picture? I guess she doesn't, right?
And we also don't know how Paul Levesque views her. We have whole new management now, a whole new creative idea and, decision maker that may not view Rhea Ripley in the same way that Vince did. And, not that Vince was showing that he loved her too much, because he, had her in a tag team with Nikki Trash for a while, and then tag team with Liv Morgan. And then but the other thing, I think the overriding factor to me is that just because she's back and she's attacking Rey Mysterio backstage and she's doing all this other shit, that doesn't mean that she's necessarily cleared for a full-blown match in the ring. She could still have lingering health issues that we don't know about. And so that's something that I think could be a reason why she's not just getting thrown back into the title picture. But I do agree with you. It does blow for her that she had the title match set up for, I think, what was it? Money in the Bank?
Money in the Bank. Yeah.
Yeah, for Money in the Bank. And she didn't get to have that. She didn't get to have this match. I mean, she might have been in line to be the Raw Women's Champion by now. And that injury killed her. But yeah, at the same time, Riddle's match was supposed to be Money in the Bank, got moved to SmackDown. Orton was supposed to have a title match at SummerSlam. That turned out to be Lesnar tonight instead. A lot of different shits happened that's messed things up. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the hell they're going to do as far as with Rhea Ripley now that it looks like Bayley's back and she's going to be going after the title. And then we have Alexa Bliss saying she wants to face whoever.
That's right.
You know what I mean? We got all these.
That's right. Yeah, you got Alexa Bliss saying she's the next up. She doesn't care who wins, Becky or Bianca. She's the next up for the title, which obviously meant something too. So, I mean, look, I could see on Raw a bunch of three-way tag team. Becky versus, Io Shirai and Dakota Kai and Bayley. I could see those happening, those types of combos happening for a few weeks. And look, man, you might get some interesting stuff that we're not expecting. You might get like mini tournaments to see who's the next to face Bianca. Who knows, man? But it's very interesting. And we do have the draft coming up soon. And I would not be surprised at all to see the Judgment Day move to SmackDown, because the draft is not far away.
Well, the draft could be whenever the hell they want it to be. It doesn't have to be in September the way it was before. Like I said, Triple H could be looking at the rosters and saying, we need to shake this shit up now, and they could have a draft in a couple of weeks if they really wanted to.
Sure.
But, but even if it is in September or October, whenever the hell it is, that was actually one of the things I was thinking earlier, like who would go where. The Judgment Day, I think, definitely would have to go to SmackDown. They need to get them off of Raw. And I think Ronda Rousey needs to go to Raw so she can feud with Becky and things like that.
I mean, you're going to have very little. Well, it depends on which women you would switch to SmackDown too. Because if you're moving Ronda off of SmackDown you're going to have to move some people over, obviously. Look, I wouldn't be surprised to see Alexa Bliss moved over to SmackDown and have this is all speculation, but at the end of the day, I think with these three women coming back during the Bianca Belair match, and now with Becky turning, I think you have a very interesting situation, almost like too many women on Raw, Well,
yeah, that's why I just don't know what the other two, other than Bayley, or what they're really planning to do with them, or what the intentions really are. And I just don't know how long they're going to wait to shake up the rosters.
I'm getting a sense that they're going to be like a female Judgment Day almost. Not as, dark, certainly, but that Bayley's kind of the ringleader, kind of like Edge was, and that they're going to be doing her dirty work. That's what I think. Yeah, almost like what Ciampa's doing with Miz, Well,
that's what I said. I said that I think that Bayley's gonna, if they're on the roster, then Bayley's going to have them as her henchwoman that'll, have matches on TV. Bayley will have the pay-per-view match.
Right, sure.
But I don't know. If you add three women to the Raw, well, I don't know what the hell they're going to do. But there's certain people they do need to send to SmackDown, and certain people they need to send to Raw. And at the end of the day, they need to do something. I don't know what the hell they can do until they do something with the men's world championship. It can't just keep being unified on somebody who isn't on the TV show ever. And that was what going into this main event match tonight and during it and after it and whatever, to me, that's what made it hard for me to invest in it. Knowing that we had, no matter what, no matter who won, even though I didn't think it was ever going to be Lesnar, but even if it was, that wasn't going to make me happy, because just going to have a champion who's barely ever there, if there at all. I mean, they went into this match and neither one of them was ever in the fucking building at the same time, except for when Reigns had the match with Riddle and Lesnar came in and F5'd everybody. That was the only time they were ever in the same freaking building, I think. Maybe one other time. I mean, so they had the build to this match with both of them not even there. And I get it that, this wasn't even supposed to be the match, but I don't know. It's same as, some people couldn't get into the McIntyre and Sheamus match because, you knew Sheamus wasn't going to win. You've seen them do the same shit to each other so many times. As great as that match was, it's still a situation where, you knew what the outcome was going to be. And so even the near falls, and even as good as it was, he still really never thought that Sheamus was going to win that match. And the only thing Drew did to Sheamus that he hasn't done before was throw him into a bar with a bunch of pictures of Sheamus photoshopped to look like his ancestors. But it was still a good match on SmackDown the other night. McIntyre won. He'll be facing Roman Reigns at Clash of the Castle. But we're going to hit a commercial break here, and we'll be right back.
The Beyond the Mat Podcast. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Beyond the Mat Podcast.
All right, we're back with Beyond the Mat here, talking about SummerSlam. On to the McAfee and Corbin match. What do you think of this match overall? I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It finished when Corbin went for end of days. He ended up getting thrown into the referee. So we had a ref bump that gave McAfee the opportunity to kick Corbin in the balls. And he ends up hitting a sunset flip roll up off of the top rope for the pin.
I mean, I kind of hate to say this, even, man. I thought it was the worst match on the show, and I didn't hate it. There was definitely parts of it that I enjoyed, but I didn't. First of all, look, the whole thing that made the Pat thing so exciting at WrestleMania was, you really had no idea how he was going to perform. You kind of had a little bit of an idea coming into this, like at least a little bit of one. And you kind of understood kind of what he was going to do. He wasn't really able to do, anything different really in this match. It was a lot of the same stuff. I was impressed, and I think he did a really good job for what he is, which is not a professional wrestler. But I just didn't think it had the same umph as his WrestleMania match against Austin Theory. And I didn't, find it to be as compelling for whatever reason. I actually thought Corbin was very good in this. He was talking a lot of shit. He was saying a lot of things. He was definitely like being a jerk. He said something at one point about Pat's mother and father. But, Pat's entrance, and I don't know how much of this you saw, but Pat's entrance to me was totally marred by this new theme that was kind of like a twist or a takeoff of the Seven Nation Army song, which they were not licensed to use this time. It was only licensed for WrestleMania. And, the crowd just wanted to sing that. And it was just like a worse version of that. And that went on a long time. He came in with a choir. They were all singing that song, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. It wasn't as good. And, I thought it really sucked that we didn't have Pat on commentary for that Brock Lesnar match because he had to have this match. Because I thought that as good as Corey Graves is, I really would have liked to have heard Pat on commentary throughout that Brock Lesnar match. I think it would have been added even more to it.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, but I also think that match needed a heel commentator and a babyface. They needed a straight up heel commentator in that match, I think. Mm-hmm. And so I think having Graves there was probably the right thing to do for a match like that, just to have the contrast between what the story the commentary's given you. Although the match was so hard hitting and ridiculous that I don't know if it really makes a difference what the commentary's doing, but by the end of it, they were both telling the ref to count faster.
Yeah, they were. They were saying, get this over with already.
Yeah, but we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. Did you see when Corbin put the headset on to talk on commentary and it wasn't even turned on, so it didn't even come through as commentary?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I thought Corbin did a really good job, man. I think he's kind of awesome, to be honest with you.
I thought he did great too. I think he always does good. That's why I always said, before WrestleMania, I was like, this McIntyre and Corbin match is going to be good. It's not going to get a shitload of time, but for what it's worth, it's going to be a good match. And Corbin carried his weight in this match, and I think that they booked it well because they basically had McAfee getting the shit kicked out of him, and he only won because of ref bump and a low blow. So it didn't totally just break down Corbin to lose to the commentator because he got kicked in the balls, So,
was it the ref Charles Robinson?
Yeah, I thought that was a little weird too to have Charles Robinson refereeing that match.
Yeah, because every time you see him, there's going to be some sort of ref getting knocked out spot.
Yeah,
he's really good at it.
I know. He's always whenever they do a ref bump, he's always the ref. Mainly because he's good at that. He's only been refereeing for freaking 40 years. So
right. Yeah, he was good at it.
Yeah, man. I wasn't that. I a lot of ways I thought this was the worst match on the card. I just felt like it was a waste of time. I saw the spectacle of Pat McAfee doing it at WrestleMania. what does he gain by winning this? At the end of the day, he won with a low blow, so it doesn't really hurt Corbin. But it's not like Corbin needs to pick up this heel heat, because I get it with Pat McAfee. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, well, McAfee's on the card instead of some guy on the roster that could wrestle, and this is stupid because of that. I don't care about that. I think that McAfee's like so popular, and he's basically his own brand, that if they want to if he wants to be in a match and he's going to be in a match and it's going to have drawing power, that's fine. But if it's not going to mean anything to further any kind of story, like him facing Theory's going somewhere. Where's Corbin going? And so that's where I feel like it's a match that you could just throw away and it wouldn't make a difference if it happened or not. And now McAfee's going to be doing commentary on the show that Corbin's on, which is Corbin supposed to just forget about this now?
Right.
So we'll see what happens, but to me, they didn't need to have this match.
I agree with you, Matt. Absolutely. It was inconsequential, as they say.
Yeah. And so was the WrestleMania one, but I get it at WrestleMania having the celebrity match, and I hated the fact that Vince got involved in that, but whatever. And then that eventually led to Stone Cold coming back out and stunning everybody. So whatever. Moving on. Tag team title match. Got Street Profits and the Usos. I felt like this match was not as good as their match at Money in the Bank. It was still good. They did a lot of high spots. They used a little bit different moves in this one. Still ended with the 1D finisher by the Usos. We had "This Is Awesome" chants happening during the match. They started the match by Jimmy working over Dawkins. He did the Rikishi splash into the corner. When he went for it a second time, Dawkins dodged it, tagged in Ford. Ford hit a really big crossbody splash onto Gray, or on the J, and then went for a pin. Only got two. Took him out with a clothesline after that. A couple kicks and an enziguri, then a back suplex, a standing moonsault for two. Jay reversed a suplex after that, hit a super kick, but Ford ended up getting back up, got into the corner and hit a really nice looking standing blockbuster, which is really hard to do. That was impressive looking. Got a 2 count out of that. Jay fought back, hit a pop-up neck breaker for two. Ford dodged a charging Uso and sent him to the ringside. Dawkins then hit a swanton. So both Usos were coming after Ford. He pulled down the ropes. They fell over to the ringside area, then tagged in Dawkins. Dawkins hit a swanton onto both of them. Eventually, Dawkins is tagged in. He's in the ring, down. Usos hit the Uso splash on him. Then they go for a double Uso splash, but Ford broke up the pin on that one. Then Dawkins hits a sky high. This was right after Jimmy Uso almost kicked Jeff Jarrett, but Jeff Jarrett threw his leg away. So he ran right into Dawkins and hit him with the sky high. Then frog splash by Ford off the top rope. People were thinking it could be over there, but it was just a near fall. Then all of a sudden we have the Usos roll out of the ring, and they're over in front of the announce table, and Montez Ford walks over towards them. Then it's almost like he's forgot what he was supposed to do. And then he runs to the other side of the ring, goes for a suicide dive through the ropes. They cut him off with stereo super kicks. Dawkins runs around the ring, runs right into another super kick, and then back in the ring, they hit the 1D on Dawkins, and that ends the match. The Ford had been thrown over the barricade so he could not get back in for the save. Dawkins tagged himself in right before the suicide dive. I thought the ending was really, really choppy and not well executed at all. And I felt like they were just going through high spots this whole match. There wasn't any real psychology, and, you know, it didn't feel like it was coordinated, and they didn't have parts of the match where they were building heat and having comebacks, and they didn't have the crowd as much in this one. I didn't think, you know, impressive stuff, but at the end of the day, I didn't feel like it was as great as the Money in the Bank match. Usos are retaining here. I don't know who the hell they're going to face next. There was a spot in this match that you pointed out to me where Montez Ford went for a pin. Jimmy kicked out, or Jay kicked out, whichever Uso it was. And then Ford's still laying there on top of him with both shoulders down. And it was basically a visual 7 or 8 count. And I think it was just, they just messed up the spot and he just didn't get off of him. But if the referee would have counted that would have been a pin.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can go back and watch it. It's after the frog splash. Montez does not get the 3 count. He's then laying there kind of in disbelief. The Usos' shoulders are completely down. Montez's half of his body is on top of him. He's kind of talking back and forth with Jeff Jarrett about, I can't believe that was in 3, whatever he's saying. Everyone's looking shocked. And literally you could have counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Jeff Jarrett's sitting right there, right next to him. So if they want to have a third match, they can always go back to that, maybe on Raw, and say, we were watching the footage and blah, blah, blah. Because I don't know, like you said, what else there is for the Usos to do.
Yeah, the only other babyface tag team really is the Mysterios or the New Day, which Woods basically is probably going to be out for several months now because of what happened last night on SmackDown. The Viking Raiders put his leg in a chair and then slammed their shields on it, and he sold the shit out of it, and he wouldn't let people even help him. He took his shoe off. I mean, it was definitely an injury angle to get him off of TV. So the New Day's not there. So what babyface team is going to take on the Usos, or is it going to be another heel team like the Viking Raiders?
Right. There's literally no one left other than the Mysterios, unless you're going to have a joining forces of AJ Styles and Edge. I'm just making something up, but unless you're going to have some weird RK Bro-ish when they first were created tag team coming out of the blue, you're not getting anything. There's no one for them to face.
Yeah, I mean, and what do you think of the match?
Some things I liked and some things I didn't. I thought it was not as good as the Money in the Bank match, though, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I liked some of the spots they did, and I liked how they were using a little bit different moves. And I liked how Money in the Bank, what I thought made that match so good was that they didn't use their whole arsenal of moves. But at the end of the day, I still thought that the finishing sequence was terrible.
But here's what I thought too. Like, you were talking a lot, which is right on, about the match psychology. I thought Jeff Jarrett was going to bring some of that in. I thought he was going to have a role other than a guy who counts to. I understand he said, my whole job is just to count to 3. Then why do we need him? There's how many officials are there in WWE? I get it. The first guy messed up. So how about one of the other 14 officials? Can they do the job, or are they not competent? The only person who can count is Jeff Jarrett all of a sudden, who's never wrecked a match. So That's why, like, I didn't get the whole Jeff Jarrett angle. I really didn't. I don't see what the point was.
There wasn't one.
guess
There was no point. It was just because he's from Tennessee. It's the same reason why Kane came out there to announce the attendance.
Right. And that's what I was about to say. I know he's from Tennessee, and they probably said, oh, there's a lot of old school Jeff Jarrett fans out there. Maybe we'll sell 2,000 tickets out of this. I don't know, but other than that, I just thought it was going to be a consequential part of the match, and it wasn't. And that confused me too, because I think anytime you're going to have a special something or other going on, why not have it add something to the match? But it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't add anything. I mean, he was calling it tight, with them 5 counts in the corner and stuff like that. And then he had the spot where he almost got super kicked and threw his foot away, and he ran into the Sky High, which was right, before the finish, because he ran into the Sky High, then the frog splash, and that should have been it, because that was when he was laying on top of him. And that was when the Usos just kind of rolled out, Jimmy rolled out and Jay got down from the apron. And then Ford makes a tag, but he doesn't get the hell out of the ring. And then he sees them. And then instead of jumping over the ropes and doing a Superman dive like he always does, he decides to jump through the ropes and runs right into fucking super kicks.
Yep. And one other thing about Jeff Jarrett is, I'm sure you noticed this too, his cadence on his counts were terrible. Sometimes they were really fast and sometimes they were really slow. And he wasn't an equal cadence. I'm surprised. Like, there was a point in the match where I thought we might get like a wrong finish, because he was 1, 2, 3. And then other times it was 1, 2, 3, he was going very quick on certain counts, and he didn't have the right cadence. And I know what a big thing that is for the performers in the match, to understand the cadence and have it be consistent, so they know when they need to kick out or whatever.
Yeah, but they also could, if he knows what the finish is and everything, he could be doing that to make the near falls seem more dramatic.
Sure.
But I don't think, I think you're focusing too much on Jeff Jarrett. I think the whole point is that they didn't want him to be really a part of the actual outcome of the match. They didn't want the referee to be a part of the outcome of the match. So it really doesn't fucking matter who the referee was. And they only did it because it was in Tennessee. But I don't think that it affected anything.
All right, fair enough.
You know what I mean? I don't really think. I think the match, one way or the other, with or without Jeff Jarrett, in my, like, what did you think of the finish?
No, I didn't think it was that really ultra dramatic finish that you were thinking that you were going to see, especially after what you saw at Money in the Bank. I thought it was just kind of like an ordinary finish, and the Street Profits kind of looked kind of dumb. Like they kind of looked like you said, they were just doing things that did not put them in a position to win, and didn't make them look like a cohesive tag team, which, I was maybe expecting at the end of that match when they were showing Ford and Dawkins in the ring together. I was expecting maybe a breakup after that match. And I'm happy we didn't get a breakup, but it didn't, the finish made them look like they're not on the same page. And maybe that's what they were going for, right?
I thought it made them look like idiots.
Well, yeah, like they weren't, but they weren't a good team together almost.
Yeah, I mean, but if they're going to do all that, then they should have had them break up there. But they didn't. I mean, maybe they're going to play it out and have them not be on the same page a couple times. I don't know. But it's like, if you're Ford and you're going to tag Dawkins in, then let him come into the fucking ring.
Yeah.
Don't go do a suicide dive that you never do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But it also to me, it looked like they poorly executed that whole sequence. I mean, they obviously poorly executed the frog splash and the kick out because he laid on top of him after he kicked out, and then they roll out of the ring. And it's like, if one Uso is going to roll out of the ring, why is the other Uso getting off the apron with him? And then,
sure.
And why the hell can't, if Dawkins is going to run all the way around the whole damn ring, why is he running right into super kick? You know?
Well, yeah. And this stuff might all be used. I mean, you might see on Raw, you know, them having a promo and talking about this.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens, but we'll move on there. Next up, we had Riddle show up here, called Rollins out. We have Rollins come out. Riddle charges him in the aisle, lays in a bunch of kicks, gets into the ring. But Seth eventually takes him down with a big blow to the head and then hits a curb stomp on him in the middle of the ring again. I didn't see the purpose of this other than to have these two guys, you know, show up for the crowd that was expecting to see them. And I thought it made Riddle look like a complete idiot.
Yeah, it was no different from the end of the Madison Square Garden show in a lot of ways. I mean, what was that much different about it than what happened on Monday Night Raw, the last 2 minutes of the show versus what happened there?
Well,
2 curb stomps versus 1.
The difference is Riddle was in a match in that Raw, and Seth came out and took advantage of the fact that he was, you know, beaten up from a match. In this case, Riddle called Seth out, and Seth took one blow to knock him down, enough to hit him with the curb stomp.
Right, but Riddle was still, based on the injury, still was compromised. Even though, see, he was saying,
yeah, I get he was compromised, but he called him out.
Yeah, he did, but they were still saying that, you know, I'm not medically cleared, I'm not in okay shape, but I don't care because I'm going to be stronger than that.
Yeah,
that's the way I took it.
I know, I took it the same way, but it turns out that he wasn't stronger than that, so he looks like an idiot for doing it.
Yeah, sure.
And they scripted it that way. So they made him look terrible, which basically just, you know, I guess that it's part of what they're trying to build, the storyline with him and Seth Rollins, but whatever. I just felt like this was unnecessary.
Yeah, I honestly think the only reason this happened was, like you said, to have both of these guys actually be there and showed up, because there definitely were people who loved them both and paid to see them both and were happy to see them both. And I think that really is why it happened. Kind of like why Jeff Jarrett was the guest referee.
Yeah.
Like, people want to see them. Okay. You know, they're there, they're doing a little thing, and that's it. And that's what the angle they decided to go with, that Seth is basically destroying this guy.
Yeah. It was fine. But speaking of thing, you know, messed up finish, I thought in the last match, I didn't like the finish of this Rousey and Liv Morgan match at all. Mm-hmm. So we start this one out. Rousey gets judo throw to get in control early. Backs Liv in the corner, hits a bunch of blows on her, then an exploder suplex, gets a 2 count out of that. Liv then gets in control with the code breaker and goes for Oblivion, but Rousey cuts her off. Morgan eventually gets a Rings of Saturn locked in and hits a nice looking crucifix driver for 2. Rousey turns the tables though, gets an armbar on her locked in on the apron. Then mid-ring, another armbar. Liv makes the ropes. Then another armbar, makes the ropes again. The WWE official gets up on the apron and checks on Liv Morgan to see if she can keep going. Ronda then does a really nice-looking driver out of the corner and then locks in an armbar in the mid-ring. And she's in a position where she has her she rolls into a position where she has her shoulders down. The ref counts 1, 2, 3 with her shoulders down. But Corey Grave points out the fact, and they didn't show the camera angle they showed us, didn't show Liv tapping out until they showed the replay, but Liv was tapping out when the ref counted 1. So
it was more like 1.5 to 2, but yes, it was more like 2 actually, but yeah.
Well, regardless, she was tapping out, and after the match, Rousey attacked Liv and put her in another armbar, and then she attacked the referee and put him in an armbar. They did a lot of stuff going into this match to make sure that Rousey didn't come off as a heel. They put her in the tag match with Liv the night before on SmackDown. Then they have this finish here where Liv retains by pinfall, but the ref doesn't see that she's tapping out. And the match itself, she basically got swatted like a bug, and still walks out with the championship, which is fine. But Ronda Rousey's not going to like the fact that she was tapping out in the process of her being pinned. And so she's still going to have an issue with Ronda Rousey, who clearly was too much for Liv Morgan. And I understand what they're trying to do, but even the commentary was putting over the fact that Morgan really shouldn't have won, but she's still the champion. And then last night on SmackDown, she's in the tag match, not wanting to tag Ronda Rousey in. And, they're talking about, I don't know if this is a smart idea because you have a title match tomorrow that you might want to save yourself for. And so commentary in that situation, like depending on what they say, they can make her look like a valiant hero or a complete idiot. And in this situation, the commentary can make her look like a winner or make her look like someone who got away with something and really didn't gain anything from it. And I understand they had to protect Ronda, but to me, the best way to do this would have been to either made this a triple threat match and had Natalya or somebody as the third person to take the pinfall to protect both Liv and Ronda. Liv could pin Natalya. Ronda doesn't have to take a pin. Or you have somebody run in and interfere and cause a disqualification, because in this situation, Morgan got totally overpowered. She got her ass kicked and she tapped out and still won. And so, yes, it protected Rousey. Yes, it allows Liv to still have the title, but it's not like it's a feel-good win or it's a win that elevates her in any way. If anything, it devalues her. But what do you think of this?
Yeah, I think Liv looked pretty weak, and I didn't want to see it go down that way because I like Liv Morgan. I didn't think it made her look good, and I think that they thought that maybe it would come across a little bit better with her, being the kind of the maybe more of a simultaneous 3 count with a tap or something like that, but maybe she tapped too early. I'm not really sure how it was supposed to go down, but it reminds me of almost like a coach who is supposed to call timeout, but the play goes off anyway in football, and their team throws an interception or something and it still counts. I don't know. It just didn't. I think there were better ways that they could have gone about this finish to not make Liv look so weak. And she looked like a little girl, versus Ronda. I mean, she didn't look like, someone that really deserved the championship ultimately.
Right. And so she wins Money in the Bank, and she gets to take advantage of an injured Ronda Rousey. And then she defends the belt and does so in a manner in which they could have at least booked the match such that she did more than just hit a code breaker and a crucifix driver.
Yeah. like more fast moves, like drop kicks and things that had Liv moving, bouncing off the ropes, like things that maybe Ronda, doesn't excel in. But nah, this was just like Ronda's got her on the mat, Ronda's got her in the arm bar, Ronda's got her in this lock or that lock. I mean, Ronda just really destroyed her, man. And it was a shame. I mean, but Liv almost looked almost like a heel here. Do you agree with me? Like almost.
She just didn't look strong. She looked like she got the shit kicked out of her. She's screaming in agony every time. Rousey came off as a much more fierce competitor, much more credible competitor. And listen, I don't have a problem with Liv Morgan. I think that Liv Morgan is good in a lot of areas, but there's certain areas that you would want her to be a little bit better in, to be like a top tier person, but she has to go through this to get there. She has to go through spending some time not being as credible as you think to get there. And but
to me, bro, this is the worst possible person that she could be mixed up with. Like anyone else, like everyone knows she was a UFC killer. She has all submission moves. Like she's not the type of person. Anyone else, I mean, if it was Natalia, if it was Becky, if it was Charlotte, like you could kind of see, okay, like I could see how maybe Liv could win this. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like unfathomable that she would beat Ronda Rousey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. That's why they should have made it DQ or a triple threat. That way, if you're trying to keep pushing Liv, you have her pin somebody else who it is credible for her to pin, and not have her pin somebody while she's tapping out and basically losing at the same time.
Right.
And I don't think that Rousey's a bad person for her to be matched up with, because I think in like 2 or 3 years, having spent this time feuding with Rousey will be something that should help Liv Morgan overall in the overall scope of her career. I just don't think that they did not book this very well for her at all, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But
you can't argue with that.
So we'll move on to the main event. Roman Reigns enters first. I didn't understand why the champion was entering first until Brock Lesnar came out and decided to ride a tractor down to the ring. He's in this tractor bulldozer with a front end loader. He's on top of it. He cuts off Mike Rome, the ring announcer, tells him to shut up, introduces himself, jumps right off of the top of it with the Thez press, takes down Roman Reigns. Then he takes him ringside, overhead belly to belly suplex, does another one of them, throws him into the stairs, throws him over the barricade. Then he takes him through the crowd a little bit, throws him on some other kind of barricade, gets on top of it, goes for an F5, but Roman rakes his eyes, gets off of that, rams Brock Lesnar into steel post. Then later on, Lesnar spine busters Reigns into the steel post. They get off of there. Then we get back to the ringside area. Lesnar's in control with some German suplexes, gets a table set up. Heyman distracts him a little bit. This allows Roman Reigns to hit a Samoan drop on Brock through the table. Then he takes his steel steps and drives him right into the head of Lesnar. Looked really brutal. Sets up another table, hits an Uranagi slam through the table, then gets back in the ring, hits a couple Superman punches, then a spear, goes for another spear, but Lesnar cuts him off, goes for an F5, but Reigns slips out of it. Brock then throws him out of the ring. Brock hits a spine buster on him on the half of the table that was broken earlier. Then he gets in the tractor, lowers down the bucket of it, He then goes at the Roman, rocks him with the steel steps. Then he picks up half a table, beats the hell out of him with that, drags Reigns into the front loader of the tractor, raises it up and dumps him into the ring. Then he hits 3 German suplexes on Roman Reigns and an F5. Roman Reigns gets up at the count of 9. Brock goes for another F5, but Roman slips out and reverses it into a guillotine. Brock Lesnar reverses the guillotine to his own guillotine. Then we have Lesnar with Reigns passed out in the ring. Lesnar gets into the tractor. He lifts up the ring about 15 feet into the air. This causes Roman Reigns to roll out of the ring. Lesnar then goes over to start to attack Reigns. After he stands up, he gets pissed off. He clears off the announce table. While he's doing this, the Usos come in to try to attack him, but Lesnar just dishes out a couple of suplexes to them. It looked like Jay landed on his head. He got suplexed pretty bad. Then Brock picks up Paul Heyman, F5s him onto the announce table. Reigns then takes advantage of this distraction and spears Lesnar, and suddenly Theory's music plays. Theory comes in and blasts Roman with the briefcase at first, but then Brock just grabs him and F5s him. Uso super kick Lesnar, gets up and eats a spear from Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns takes the briefcase and beats Theory with it a little bit for good measure. So he beat the piss out of Theory with the briefcase, then he started beating the piss out of Lesnar with it. Then Roman hit Lesnar with the WWE belt. Lesnar gets up, then he hits him with the Universal title belt, and the Usos help bury Lesnar with the pieces of the announce table, the ring steps, chairs, a bunch of other shit, while Roman Reigns stands on top of it. And we get to the count of 10, and Roman Reigns retains the title. This was a hard-hitting match. It was a good match. A lot of, the lifting up the ring and a lot of brutality. I've seen them have matches kind of like, obviously I haven't seen them have a match with a tractor lifting up the ring, but I've seen these two have a hard-hitting match before. This could have been the best match they've ever had. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch them all. At the same time, the one thing that made this difficult for me to really get behind it is that I didn't think there was any way Lesnar was winning. And even if he did, regardless of who wins, we were going to have a champion who is absentee. And I need to have the belts separated and at least one on Raw. It's a 3-hour freaking show. They need the men's world championship on the show. And it wasn't going to be if Lesnar won. And I know it's not going to be that Reigns won. The match was exciting and great and everything, but it was hard for me to
get behind anyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, that's an amazing observation that I really didn't even think of, but that's why, and you and me have been saying it on this show and to each other for a long time. You need to have a situation where the Money in the Bank cash-in is only for one belt, and not everything always needs to be for the unified, undisputed, whatever. Because if it is, then what do you need a unified, undisputed for? Just have one belt. Forget it. Don't carry around 2. Same thing with the tag team championships. This match was incredible, man. I understand what you mean about, like, I didn't know who I wanted to win either. I really didn't. But, the match itself, this had to be, if not their best match, probably no worse than their second best match that they've ever had, Brock and Roman, because it was so unique in so many aspects. I mean, the tractor thing was amazing, really, really cool. What a great idea. And to have the ring lifted up. I mean, there's never been anything in the history of the sport that's been done like that before, you know, moving the ring off of its, with someone in it. There was points where I thought one of them was going to die. That's how crazy this match was. So like, it almost made me like feel extremely stressed and anxious and nervous, and it gave you a lot of emotion, this match. And quite frankly, I thought it was extraordinarily well done.
Yeah, it definitely could have been the best match that they've had. Now, I wonder how the people who could have spent like $1,200 a ticket to be up in the fifth row there, right in front of the ring, felt after the ring was lifted 20 feet in the air and they couldn't see shit after that.
No doubt. That's a great point too. I mean, that had to be a weird thing. And it's not like I understand doing that and maybe like the match is going to end in, 3 minutes after that, but it went on another 10 minutes after that. So you really had a point where those people missed a lot of the match that they were coming to see, but who knows what they were able to see on the screen versus not. Who knows how the sight lines were in there anyway to begin with from the beginning of the show, because it was such a weird setup. Like they had a lot of empty space because, in a stadium like that, as opposed to an arena, seats don't slope up, in the way that, they would in an arena, going from floor level to mid first level to whatever. So, just a very interesting dynamic with this, with what you just said, because there was definitely people who paid a lot of money who couldn't see, maybe the last 10 minutes of that match.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good enough match though. I mean, for me though, the whole time I'm just sitting there hoping the ref counts to 10, no matter who was down. I just...
Yeah. I kind of wanted... Look, that's the other problem, bro, with setting up this whole thing with, Clash of the Castle beforehand. Because it's like you said, like, more than likely the people with the Clash of the Castle, they have 60,000 people. They're going to want to see Roman Reigns in the main event. So therefore, how are you going to give them a Brock Lesnar win? How are you going to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that they weren't going to have Lesnar win, but at the end of the day, if they did, I honestly would have rather seen that, because it would have been something different.
I agree. But now we know, we know it's Drew McIntyre. We know it's Roman Reigns. The thing that was confusing to me was the whole cash-in thing, because I know that you had told me before we started this broadcast that Theory did not cash in unequivocally. I believe that he didn't also, based on what I saw, and I think it was fairly obvious, but I guarantee you that there's some people out there that think that Theory cashed in and then did not accomplish it. Would you agree with me? Like, I don't think it was clear cut that he didn't cash in. Because he gave the ref the briefcase. He said, "Are you cashing in?" Theory looked at him and said, "Yes." The ref kind of started taking the briefcase out of Theory's hands to bring it and like take it out of his possession. And then Lesnar F5'd him or whatever it was. And that was it. Now, it wasn't super clear that he didn't.
Well,
or if he did.
I didn't really make out exactly what he was saying to the referee. I know he was trying to say, "I want to cash in," but Lesnar F5'd him before any of that could happen, before the referee could take it and tell the ring announcer, and they announce it. The guy can't start a match incapacitated. So even if he did say that, they're not going to go say, "Okay, now Theory's a part of this match," when he can't even acknowledge I'm okay for the bell to be rung.
Right. And that's the biggest thing, that the bell was never rung, and absolutely. But I can guarantee you again that there's people that think he cashed in tonight.
Yeah, there probably is, but hopefully they're listening to this and they were finding out that he did not.
Yep.
Because the whole idea there was that he was going to attempt to, and that Brock Lesnar said, "Fuck you, you're not doing this in my match," and took him out before he could even do it. And I was surprised that the Usos didn't do anything to him too, especially after Roman did. But he just laid there for 10 minutes. But whatever.
And the way the match ended to me was so crazy. How it reminded me a little bit of when Omos got buried at Money in the Bank. You just gotta get this guy just totally incapacitated and destroyed to even have a chance of him not getting up, because he was getting up over and over and over again. It didn't matter if he hit him with the belt. It didn't matter if he gave him a spear. It didn't matter what they did to him. He just kept getting up until they stacked everything. And I did think the visual of Roman kind of almost climbing that mountain with Brock underneath it, buried in every, steel steps and table piece and chair and everything, that was a cool visual as the ref counted to 10.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I knew that they would either bury whoever was going to lose, and once I saw the tractor, I thought maybe lower the front end loader onto somebody. Did that in a Rock and Mankind match where Mankind lowered a pallet on a forklift onto the Rock. Mick Foley always hated the finish to that match because he didn't like the way it made him look. But, I knew that it being Brock Lesnar, they were going to have to do something big like that I thought that they would drop the ring back on him or something. You know what I mean?
Wow, yeah.
Like something crazy, but yeah.
Might have been it might have been dead.
I don't mean hard. I mean
yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
Somehow take out, I don't know, whatever. They buried him under all that broken announce table stuff, which was smart, So. But that was that, man.
Overall good show, man, for sure.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I the main event was good. Opening match was good. The other matches, I just feel like the tag match, it was like a TV finish. The Rousey match was like a TV finish.
Yeah.
But whatever. We got some good returns and some, good main event. So
the other weird thing was that there hasn't been a pay-per-view in a long time that 0 titles have changed hands. That's what happened tonight. 0.
Yeah. I thought that I really thought that the Street Profits were going to win, to be honest with you.
Me too.
But
I really did. I'm very surprised. Very surprised.
But anyway, man.
Not one title change. There you go.
Yeah. But that about does it, man. We're going to get the hell out of here. So, I'm going to ask you a trivia question, though. Since Mysterio was on the show tonight, 2007, Rey Mysterio made a return from injury and won a match at SummerSlam. Who did he face?
Can you play the Jeopardy music, please?
Hold on.
I have 2 names coming in my head.
All right, what are they?
I'm wondering if it was Kane or if it was Chavo. I'm going to go with Chavo Guerrero.
Would you look that up or something?
No, I did not look it up. I thought I was going to say Kane.
That was Chavo Guerrero.
There you go.
All right, man. We're going to finish this one out. Thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight. Remember to follow us on Twitter at BeyondMattWWE and patreon.com/BeyondTheMat. That's all we got. Hope you guys enjoyed SummerSlam. Thanks very much, Brad, for joining me.
Thank you, Matt.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Mat. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a show.